Hey friends, I'm Ashton Mitchell, also known as Home Loan Girl, and today we're digging into something sweet, the real numbers behind who's buying houses in 2025. It's Homeownership Month, and whether you're an agent, a buyer, or just mortgage curious, these stats will surprise you and help you better understand the current market. Let's start with the big one. Over 80% of buyers use a mortgage to buy their home. So if you thought you needed a pile of cash sitting in the bank to be a homeowner, think again. From VA loans with $0 down to FHA with just 3.5%, there's so many programs out there to make homeownership doable. Let me give you an example. Right now, I'm helping a buyer who is in the military. He's been serving for just over 2 years. His real estate agent was helping him look for a rental, but then she asked, why don't you just buy a house with your VA loan? Well, he didn't think he had been serving for long enough to be able to purchase, and he didn't think he had enough money saved up to be able to cover the cost of a mortgage. Well, once I talked to him and I let him know all the benefits of VA, including no down payment and how little the closing costs were, and that the seller can even cover the buyer's closing costs, he was out shopping for a home that weekend, found a home that he loved, and it was cheaper than the rent of the apartment he was looking at. Now that's a win for a VA buyer. Millennials. Yep, my generation are still the largest group of home buyers. 29% of all buyers are millennials, and 71% of younger millennials are buying for the very first time. Many are highly educated and motivated by building wealth through real estate for stability. And I know firsthand these clients are smart and they're prioritizing buying over rent. I'm working with a millennial right now who bought their first house with her dad, and he was a non occupant co borrower. The house was perfect for her to live in college, but now that she's married and they have a baby on the way, they're looking for a bigger house. So instead of selling that first house, we looked into different strategies. Millennials are very conscious about building their long-term wealth through real estate. So in that, they could take the equity out of their current home and put that as a down payment towards the next. Or in this buyer situation, she bought in 2020 with a super low interest rate, which equals a super low mortgage payment. Her house was only a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's in an excellent location in the rental district, and she can make double what her mortgage payment is if she rented it out instead of selling. So we discussed, should you sell? Should you rent? The long-term benefit with their family was renting. They're going to hold the house, use that extra income that they're getting over rent for the new property to put towards the new bigger mortgage on the new property, and they're still going to have that house appreciating year after year in equity. Millennials love to build wealth through real estate, and I love discussing strategies with them. As a millennial myself, I have had huge success in the real estate world with buying and selling properties over the years. So my suggestion is always start as early as you can. I bought my first house at 20 years old. We sold it a few years later, made about $30,000 off of it. Took that equity, put it into the next home we bought that was bigger for our family. Later on, sold that home and we moved to Florida. We bought properties in Florida. We even bought a small flip that we did and held on to. We bought with cash, renovated it, and then ended up making about $60,000 when we did sell that. But while we owned it for the 2 years, we rented it out on Airbnb, and it essentially recouped the cost of that renovation. There's so many ways to build wealth through real estate. I personally hold long-term rentals, Airbnb rentals. My long-term goal is to hold at least 10 plus properties so that is a good portion of our retirement portfolio when we're ready to retire and relax with our kids and grandkids. Let's talk Gen Z buyers. That's 28 and under. I'm helping a Gen Z single female right now who is also in the military. She's 22 years old, buying her first home. And she's not only buying her first home with no money out of pocket, but she's buying her first home with equity. That VA appraisal came in over the value that she's purchasing the home. It's a super huge win for a 22-year-old. She's investing in the real estate market as early as possible. She's using all the benefits with VA with 0% down, paired with a first-time home buyer benefit that got her a lower interest rate and assistance to cover all her closing costs. There's truly a creative way to enter this real estate market, regardless of your age and marital status. Let's talk about Gen Z. You might be surprised by this, but Gen Z is stepping in and they are bold home buyers. They represent just 3% of buyers right now, but 30% of Gen Z buyers are single females. And they're buying solo, proud, proud and prepared. As someone who works with a lot of first-time buyers, I love this trend. It shows the financial independence is top of mind for Gen Z. Gen X, the 45 to 59 crowd, has the highest median household income at $130,000, and they're often buying bigger homes. Many are purchasing for their families or even buying multi-generational properties. In fact, 1 in 5 Gen Z buyers purchases a multi-generational home, often with aging parents or children in mind. Let's talk about a current Gen X buyer I have right now. They are buying a multi-generational family. It's a couple in their 40s with an aging parent from out of state. The aging parent's spouse has passed away, and they needed to move mom in a home with them, but their current home wasn't quite sufficient. So we made a plan. They pulled the equity out of their current home because they didn't have a lot of cash to put down. Once they got that equity out of their current home, they had a large down payment to purchase this new, bigger, more efficient, and handicap-accessible multi-generational home for their mom to live with them. There's always options available if multi-generational is something that your family needs. Baby boomers are making a comeback. They now make up 42% of buyers, the largest generational group. And get this, half of them are buying their homes with cash. As someone who talks to agents daily, this explains why cash deals are increasing. But don't worry, with a strong pre-approval, you can still compete with a cash buyer. For boomers, while they're paying cash for most properties, some boomers don't have that option. But maybe they've been staying in a home that they've been in for at least 20 plus years and they have a ton of equity. But maybe there's stuff stacked to the ceiling and they can't exactly sell it the way it is. In that case, we would do an equity line of credit. That's when we're going to be able to pull out the equity that they have in their mortgage to use for their down payment for the next home to get them qualified. This alleviates the need to have to sell that high packed up house first, and it's a lot less stress on the family members, the family, and the real estate agent. Now, once this family is settled in their new home, they can get ready to sell that last home and get it nice and ready for the market and uncluttered. So I know you heard that most boomers are paying cash, but this might be a surprising fact. The last boomer that I helped was actually a first-time home buyer. She was 64 years old, had never bought a home in her life. Her family had never owned a home prior to her. She didn't know that that was a way to build wealth and security. But at 64 years old, her rent kept rising. This was so stressful for her because those Social Security checks weren't rising with the pace the rent was rising. So we were able to get her into a first-time home buyer program at 64 years old, and she now owns a home where her mortgage is never going to increase in her like rent. The median age of a first-time buyer is now 38 years old. It's not that people don't want to buy earlier. It's just that the rising costs, student loans, and life delays have really changed the timeline. That's why education, planning, and a great lender matter more than ever. So what does all this mean? It means homeownership is changing, but it's still possible and still the fastest way to build your long-term wealth. Whether you're 25, 45, or 65, there's a strategy that fits your season. If you're thinking about buying or just want to know what's possible, reach out. I would love to help and discuss your financial situation. And hey, if you found this video helpful, like and subscribe because I've got more sweet content coming your way. If any of these scenarios that I've talked about today resonate with you, my team and I would love to have a conversation with you to creatively strategize a financial plan for homeownership for your specific situation. All you need to do is go to my website, homeloangirl.com, fill out an application, and my assistant will be in contact to set us up with an appointment.